Then Muawiyah himself said, no, the Khilafah is mine. I am the leader of the Muslims. But you had a group of Muslims, mostly in Iraq and in the Hijaz, their allegiance was to Hasan, right? And there was just, great fitna. There's a famous event known as the Mubahala, and this event is very significant in terms of identifying the family of the Prophet ﷺ. So Christians came from Najran, which is in Yemen, and the Prophet ﷺ told them about the oneness of Allah Ta'ala, and they did not accept the message of Tawheed initially. So Allah Ta'ala sent down wahi. Allah Ta'ala sent down, Allah exalted and Most High sent down revelation saying, okay, if someone here is not telling the truth about God, let us come together, us and you, our women and your women, our sons and your sons, and let us all invoke together the curse of God upon the liars. This is the Mubahala, right? And when the Prophet ﷺ came out to engage the Christian community, on this, occasion, he had with him Ali, and radiallahu anh, and Fatima, radiallahu anha, and Hasan, and Hussein, right? So in the verse of the Quran, it mentions our sons. It says like our sons and your sons. So because of that ayah, they would proudly introduce themselves as the sons of the Prophet ﷺ, but in reality, biological reality, they were his grandsons, Hasan and Hussein. Today we're talking about Hasan. And the story around the name of Hasan is a very interesting story to me. It speaks to kind of the light-hearted beauty of the Prophet ﷺ. When Fatima, because of course Hasan is the son of Sayyidina Ali and Fatima al-Zahra radiallahu anhuma, when she conceived Hasan, the Prophet ﷺ naturally asked Ali, what are you thinking about a name? What name have you decided upon? And Sayyidina Ali, given Karramallahu wajh, given his love for battle and combat and the valor and the, some people they pursue dignity through combat. Sayyidina Ali said, Harb, war. I'm going to name him War. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I think Hasan is better, right? And so this is how he was given the name Hasan instead of Harb, war. Hasan was dear to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ said, Hasan is from me. Whoever makes him happy makes me happy. Whatever worries him or vexes him vexes me. All of us know the beautiful narration of the Prophet ﷺ when he was praying and he was in sajda, right? He was in a state of prostration, and Hasan and Hussein both, they came upon the back of the Prophet ﷺ, and some of the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, some of the companions, may God be pleased with them, narrating this event, they said the Prophet ﷺ was in prostration. He was prostrating for so long. We thought maybe he had passed away. We thought maybe he had died. Only after the prayer did he turn to us and say, my grandsons, they climbed upon my back and I stayed in the position of prostration because I didn't want to disturb their play. Right? This is the great affinity, the great love, the great tenderness that existed between the Prophet ﷺ and Hasan. Hasan's life though, those are, his entire life is a testament to his bravery, to his courage, to his nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to his adherence to the way of the Prophet ﷺ. But you do also see in his life great tragedy, and you see a struggle. And I think for me, this makes him even more relatable, and it makes his example even more valuable. Hasan was actually one of the bodyguards of Uthman when he was assassinated, radiallahu anhu. So the idea that he himself had anything to do with Uthman's assassination was preposterous. He had nothing to do with the assassination of Uthman. But after the assassination of Uthman, there became a lot of clamor and controversy about bringing his killers to justice. In Sham, in Damascus, in Dimashq, you had Muawiyah and Bani Umayyah, who of course in English we call them the Umayyads. Bani Umayyah, they were there and they refused to pledge allegiance to Ali until Uthman's killer was brought to justice. Then of course we know that Ali was assassinated. Then Muawiyah himself said, no, the Khilafah is mine. I am the leader of the Muslims. But you had a group of Muslims, mostly in Iraq and in the Hijaz, their allegiance was to Hasan, right? And there was just, great fitna. It was great fitna. This is actually called, in our history, the first fitna. This is the schism, right? This is the tafarruq, right? You have a group of Muslims that are allied to Muawiyah and Bani Umayyah, and you have a group of Muslims that are allied to the Ahlul Bayt, to the family of the Prophet ﷺ, and to Hasan. And a fight is brewing, right? A fight is brewing. What's interesting about this story is that you had great correspondence between them. We differ about like how a person holds their hands in prayer, right? And we're disparaging each other, ridiculing each other, intimidating each other, mocking each other. They were differing about the governance of the Muslim community, and the letters between them were actually very respectful. Muawiyah speaking with great deference to Hasan. Hasan speaking with great respect to Muawiyah. But they could not really come to terms about, what they should do. And they were preparing to meet, right, in battle. However, Hasan had a change of heart. On his way to do battle with Muawiyah, Hasan said, if Muawiyah, this is a direct quote of Sayyidina Hasan, if Muawiyah is the rightful leader of the Muslim community, then he's in his place. If I am the rightful leader of the Muslim community, I have ceded that place to Muawiyah. So the matter has ended. And I think there is more benefit in my decision for the Muslims. It broke my heart to hear that when Hasan said that, he was attacked by members of his own brigade. The tent in which he was stationed was looted. He was attacked by members of his own brigade. The tent in which he was stationed was looted, right? There was a man named Jarar ibn Sinan who broke through and wounded. So after his tent was looted, Hasan started back to Kufa, and he had like a retinue, like a security detail. Jarar ibn Sinan said, "Qad kafart kamithli abik." You're a disbeliever like your father. Now, this is the mentality of somebody khariji. This is the mentality of someone that, is inflexible, intolerant, and thinks that their opinion is somehow synonymous with God's opinion, right? He said, because you're willing to negotiate with Muawiyah, if the truth is really that you are the leader of the Muslims, this is disbelief. And he tried to stab Hasan, but he only stabbed him in the leg. Hasan didn't even retaliate, and the people with him didn't even retaliate. They just made their way back to Kufa. Eventually, Hasan succumbed to poisoning. That it's most historians say that it was his wife, but she did it. One of his wives, but she did it at the behest of the ruler of the Muslims. Many people dispute that. My point is that the reason that Sayyidina Hasan is an absolute exemplar, because many people say the last thing to leave the heart of a good man is hibbur riyasa, is love of leadership. The last thing to leave the heart of a good man is love of leadership. This is the grandson of the Prophet ﷺ, and no one could assume that they had greater right to the leadership of the Muslims than he. And rather than have Muslim blood be shed, for him to be there, he would rather enter into a treaty, into sulh. He would rather enter into an armistice rather than have Muslim blood be shed. For me, not, of course, I'm a Sunni Muslim, so we uphold the istiqamah, the probity, the righteousness, the uprightness of all of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. All of them. Muawiyah is a companion of the Prophet ﷺ, radiyallahu anhu. But in this video, we're talking about Hasan's virtue, right? His willingness to relent, his willingness to step back for the greater good of the community, for the greater good of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. This is a lesson that we're all in need of. Sometimes it's not about being technically right. It's about being righteous. Sometimes we're presented with options that are that clear. Do you want to be right or do you want to be righteous? Hasan chose to be righteous. I pray that if we're ever presented with that dilemma, being right or being righteous, that we too will choose righteous. Wa jazakumullahu khairan wa assalamu alaikum. And please join us again next week to talk about another illustrious member of the family of the Prophet ﷺ.